Your grandson will never ride a snowmobile. Not because he can't afford one, because he doesn't want one. Right now, across the snow belt, 10,000 dads are storing sleds their kids refuse to touch. The tradition you spent 40 years living isn't fading. It already died. Your generation just hasn't accepted it yet. By the end of this video, you'll see the exact moment families stopped passing down sleds, the 9 factors that killed a 60-year tradition in one generation, and why trying to save it now is like trying to teach your kid to love something that no longer exists in his world. Let's picture this together. Northern Michigan, January 1982. Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Dad's shaking you awake. You're 9 years old. Still dark outside. You smell bacon cooking downstairs. Dad's loading the truck. You eat fast. Mom packs thermoses of hot chocolate. Your younger brother's already in his snowsuit bouncing off the walls with excitement. By 7:30, you're on the trail. Dad on his Polaris 440. You on a little Arctic Cat kitty cat behind him. Brother riding 2-up with Mom. Dad stops every 15 minutes to check on you. Shows you how to lean in corners. Explains why you don't cross lakes until February. Points out landmarks so you won't get lost. At the warming shelter, he introduces you to other families. Kids your age. You make friends. Plan to meet up next weekend. That afternoon, back home, Dad shows you how to check the track, replace studs, adjust clutch weights. You're learning, bonding, building memories. That was family snowmobiling. Not a luxury vacation, not an Instagram moment. Daily life in winter for hundreds of thousands of families across the snow belt. Multi-generational. Grandfather taught father, father taught son, son taught his kids. Families owned 3, 4, 5 sleds. Different sizes for different ages. Younger kids started on 120 cubic centimeters youth sleds at 5 or 6. Graduated to bigger machines as they grew. Nobody thought twice about it. Same way farm families taught kids to drive tractors. Hockey families taught kids to skate. Snowmobiling families taught kids to ride. The tradition passed down automatically, culturally embedded. But get this, in 2023, participation rates among riders aged 18 to 34 dropped 12% compared to 2010. Only 15% of new Canadian riders are under 30. Median age of snowmobilers in North America hit 54 in 2026, up from 40 in 2010. Kids aren't replacing their parents. The tradition broke, and I can show you exactly where it snapped. First killer, economics. Youth sleds used to be cheap throwaway machines. 1985. Arctic Cat kitty cat sold for $895 brand new. Yamaha snow scoot, $750. Families bought them used for $300, $400. Kid rode it for 2 years, sold it for $250. Next kid used it. Minimal investment, maximum return in family time. Now look at 2026 prices. Arctic Cat ZR 200 youth sled, $5,649. Ski-Doo MX Z200, $5,799 minimum. Closer to $600 with setup fees. Polaris 120 Indy, similar range. For a machine your kid will outgrow in 3 years. Adjusted for inflation, 1985, Kitty Cat at $895 would cost about $2,500 today. Instead, manufacturers are charging double that because they can, because parents with money will pay it. But working class families, teachers, electricians, factory workers making $58,000 a year, they're doing the math. $5,600 for a youth sled plus another $14,000 for dad's sled plus trailer, gear, insurance, gas, registration. 25 grand minimum to get started as a family. Same money buys a decent used SUV the whole family uses year-round. Which investment makes sense? The math stopped working around 2008 when youth sled prices crossed $3,000. By 2015, average youth sled hit $4,500. Now we're at $5,600 and climbing. Price working families right out of the tradition. Guy I know from Wisconsin wanted to buy his 2 boys' youth sleds in 2025. Twins, age 7, priced it out. 2 youth sleds, used gear from Marketplace, helmets, bibs. $9,000 to get both kids riding. He makes $62,000 a year as a pipe fitter. Wife's a school aide making $34,000. Combined $96,000 household income. Not poor, solid middle class. They couldn't justify $9,000 for a winter hobby the boys might lose interest in after one season. Bought them PlayStation 5s instead. $600 total. That's the calculation happening in thousands of households. And wait until you hear what one insurance company started charging families with youth riders. That horror story's coming up. Second killer, helicopter parenting and safety hysteria. Look, snowmobiling has always carried risk. We knew that. But previous generations accepted reasonable risk as part of raising capable kids. Your dad put you on a sled at 6, showed you the basics, sent you around the field. You crashed, learned, got hurt, toughed it out. Part of growing up. Modern parents are terrified of everything. 16,000 emergency room visits per year across North America for snowmobile injuries. 200 fatalities annually. Those numbers haven't changed much since the 90s. But media coverage exploded. Social media amplified every tragedy. Parents don't read the details. Kid was riding unsupervised on a frozen lake at night without a helmet. They just see snowmobiles kill children. Instant fear. Same parents who let their kids play tackle football, ride ATVs, jump on trampolines. Activities with higher injury rates than supervised snowmobiling. But snowmobiling got labeled high risk. Cultural perception shifted. Dad wants to take his son and 3 of son's friends riding, like he did every Saturday as a kid. Now he's thinking, what if one of those kids gets hurt on my watch? His buddy's sister got sued when a neighbor kid broke his arm on their trampoline. 4 years of legal hell. Homeowners insurance dropped them. So Dad says no. Too much liability. Kids' friends can't come. Kid loses interest. Riding alone with Dad isn't as fun. Tradition dies. Quick pause here. If you stopped letting your kids ride because of safety fears, hit that like button. I want to know how many families this affected. Third killer, and nobody wants to say this out loud, kids today would rather stare at screens than experience actual adventure. Harsh truth. Your dad begged you to go sledding because it was the only entertainment option on a Saturday in January 1984. No internet. 4 TV channels. Nintendo just came out, but you didn't own one. Going sledding was an escape, adventure, freedom. Your kid in 2026, he's got a phone more powerful than computers that sent men to the moon. Infinite entertainment. Games, videos, social media. Why would he wake up at 6 a.m., put on bulky gear, sit on a loud, cold machine, and ride around trails for 6 hours? When he can stay in bed until noon, then play Fortnite with his friends from his warm bedroom? The dopamine hit from digital entertainment is instant and constant. Snowmobiling requires effort, discomfort, delayed gratification. Modern kids aren't wired for it. 2023 survey of youth outdoor recreation found average screen time for kids aged 10 to 17. 7 hours per day. 7 hours. Looking at screens. Come on, the competition for kids' attention fundamentally changed. Snowmobiling lost. Parents contribute to this. They're exhausted from work. They don't want to wake up early Saturday to prep sleds and load trailers. Easier to let kids sleep in, play video games, stay home. Parents get their own screen time. Everybody's happy. I know families who still own sleds in their garage, haven't started them in 3 years. Kids have zero interest. parents gave up trying. Fourth factor, modern sleds are too complicated for kids to learn on. Your 1987 Polaris Indy 400 had a pull start, a choke, and a throttle. Kid could understand the entire machine in one afternoon. Mechanical. Simple, teachable. Dad showed you how to check compression, clean carburetor jets, replace spark plugs. 12-year-old could maintain his own sled with basic tools and a climber manual. Now look at a 2026 youth sled. Electronic fuel injection, CAN bus communication, digital gauge clusters, electronic reverse. Kid can't diagnose anything without dealer software. Can't adjust fuel mixture, can't troubleshoot electrical issues, can't do anything except ride it and hope nothing breaks. When something fails, and it will, sled goes to the dealer. $300 minimum diagnostic fee. No learning opportunity. No father-son garage time. No skill development. Just dependency on professionals. This removes half the bonding experience of family snowmobiling. Previous generations, fathers taught sons mechanics through sled maintenance. Problem solving, troubleshooting, hands-on learning. Boys learned critical thinking, work ethic, self-reliance. Those lessons happen naturally during winter Saturdays fixing sleds together. Can't happen anymore when everything's electronic and dealer dependent. Kid learns nothing except when stuff breaks, pay someone to fix it. Terrible lesson. Fifth killer, and this one's brutal. Inconsistent snow destroyed the reliable season families depended on. Your childhood in 1980s northern Wisconsin? Snow arrived Thanksgiving. Stuck around until late March. Guaranteed 4 months of riding. Families planned around it. Christmas break meant snowmobiling. February meant races. March meant long-distance trips. Dependable. Predictable. Cultural calendar built around it. Now, snow shows up in late December if you're lucky. Gone by mid-February. Warm spells in January melt everything. Trails close. Reopen. Close again. Minnesota Department of Natural Resources documented 25% decline in trail usage between 2010 and 2020. Not because fewer sleds existed, because inconsistent snow made planning impossible. Family tries to schedule a weekend trip 2 months out. Snow's gone when they arrive. Happens twice, 3 times. Family stops planning trips. Kids' interest dies. Parents won't invest thousands in equipment for a sport their kid can only do 6 weekends per year. Maybe. Upper Midwest and Northeast lost 34% of snowpack since the 1960s, according to NOAA. Average snow cover duration decreased 12 days since 1972. That's 12 fewer days per winter that families can ride, accumulating year after year, eroding the tradition. Kids who experienced 3 bad winters in a row between ages 8 and 11, they moved on, found other interests, never came back even when good winters returned. Climate change didn't kill family snowmobiling directly, but it removed the consistent foundation families needed to build traditions around. Sixth factor, modern childhood is structured and scheduled in ways that leave 0 time for spontaneous family activities. In our childhood, we had school, maybe 1 sport. Rest of the time was unstructured. Saturday morning, Dad said, "We're going riding," and you went. No schedule to check. Modern kids? Travel hockey every weekend, 3 practices per week, tournaments in different states, guitar lessons Tuesday, tutoring Wednesday, youth group Thursday. Select soccer combines with hockey season. No free Saturdays, November through March. Parents chose this. Overscheduled their kids with enrichment activities because they think it builds resumes for college. No time left for family sledding. Even if kid wanted to ride, which he doesn't, schedule doesn't allow it. Wisconsin family I know, Dad's been riding 43 years, wanted to pass it to his son. Son turned 12 in 2023. perfect age to really get into sledding. Kid plays hockey, rep team, practices Monday, Wednesday, Friday, games Saturday and Sunday, tournaments every other weekend. Hockey season runs October through March, exact overlap with snowmobile season. Dad proposed missing one tournament to go on a family sledding trip. Wife said no. Coach wouldn't approve. Might lose his spot on the roster. Hockey took priority. Dad tried to schedule rides around hockey. Found 3 available weekends the entire winter. First weekend, no snow. Second weekend, kid got sick. Third weekend, trails closed due to warm weather. 0 rides that season. Next year, kid made AAA hockey. Even tighter schedule. No free weekends at all. Dad sold his sleds in 2025. Accepted reality. His son will never be a snowmobiler. That story repeated across thousands of families. Sports, activities, academic pressure, squeezed out unstructured family time. Snowmobiling requires spontaneity, free weekends, flexible planning. Modern childhood doesn't allow it. If you're liking the video so far, subscribe. You won't regret what's coming next. 7th killer. Insurance costs exploded for families with youth riders. 1990s. Adding your kid to your snowmobile insurance was $20 a year. $18. Joke amount. Progressive and State Farm didn't even ask about youth riders under 16. Assumed they'd ride supervised, then lawsuits started. 14-year-old crashes dad's sled into a tree. Paralyzed. Family sues sled manufacturer, insurance carrier, trail club, landowner. $7 million settlement in 2004. Insurance companies freaked. Started auditing policies, asking detailed questions, age of riders, supervision protocols, experience levels. Premiums skyrocketed for families with minors. By 2015, adding a teenage rider to your policy cost $300 to $600 extra per year, depending on state. Some carriers refuse to insure families with riders under 16 at all. I have an interesting study to show you guys. The data says supervised youth riders has lower accident rates than adults aged 18 to 25. Families with kids riding under parental supervision are safer than college kids renting sleds at resorts. Insurance companies don't care about actual risk. They cared about liability exposure from lawsuits. Even one catastrophic youth injury claim could cost them millions. So they priced families out of the market. 8th factor, the mentorship pipeline broke when the middle generation checked out. Grandparent teaches parent, parent teaches child, child teaches grandchild. 3-generation knowledge transfer. Each generation adds to the body of accumulated wisdom. Snowmobiling worked this way from 1960s through 1990s. Grandfather, who rode ski-doos in the 70s, taught his son in the 80s. Son taught his kids in the 90s. Unbroken chain, that chain snapped around 2005. The middle generation, guys who are 45 to 60 now, stopped riding, sold their sleds. Too expensive, too much hassle, too many other priorities. Their kids, currently aged 15 to 30, never learned. Knowledge gap. Grandfather's in his 70s now, still has stories, still has skills. But his grandkids don't ride. His son doesn't ride. Nowhere to pass the knowledge. Minnesota snowmobile clubs lost 58% of membership in 10 years. From 24,000 members to 10,000. Most who left were the middle generation, guys in their 40s and 50s. Exactly the demographic that should have been teaching their kids. Instead, they aged out, burned out, priced out. Their kids grew up without mentorship. When grandfather dies, 60 years of accumulated knowledge dies with him. The intangible skills that made snowmobiling a culture, not just a hobby. 9th factor, rural populations collapsed and urban kids don't have access to riding areas. Snowmobiling is fundamentally a rural activity. You need space, trails, access to wilderness. 1980s, 72% of Americans lived in areas classified as rural or small town. Now, 83% live in urban areas. Statistics Canada shows similar trend. Families move to cities and suburbs for jobs, schools, opportunities. Their kids grew up 2 hours from the nearest snowmobile trail. Can't build a family tradition around an activity that requires a 3-hour drive each way. Dad who moved from northern Michigan to Detroit for an auto industry job, his kid growing up in suburban Detroit has zero access to sledding. Dad sold his sleds when they moved. Practical decision. Kid never experienced it, never missed it, never asked about it. Urbanization didn't just physically separate families from riding areas. It culturally separated them from snowmobile communities. No local clubs to join, no neighbors who ride, no peer group engaged in the activity. Kids' friends play basketball, video games, whatever urban kids do, none of them snowmobile. Kid doesn't want to be different, wants to fit in with his peer group. Even if dad kept his sled and drove 3 hours every other weekend to ride, kid wouldn't want to go. His friends aren't doing it. That's what matters at age 12. Let me tell you the biggest lie in modern snowmobiling. Manufacturers keep saying, "We're focused on attracting the next generation of riders." They say this at dealer meetings, press releases, industry conferences. Complete bullshit. If manufacturers actually cared about attracting young riders, youth sleds would cost less than adult sleds. Simple economics. Remove barriers to entry. Instead, youth sleds cost more per pound, more per horsepower, more relative to adult machines than they did 30 years ago. Because, manufacturers make higher margins on youth sleds. Parents with money will pay premium prices for their kids. And manufacturers optimized for profit, not market growth. They don't want working-class families in the market. Too price-sensitive. Too likely to buy used. Too much hassle. They want wealthy families who buy new youth sleds, new adult sleds, new gear every season. Pay dealer prices for maintenance. That's the customer profile manufacturers optimized for. Everyone else got priced out intentionally. Check the marketing. Arctic Cat, Polaris, Ski-Doo advertising shows families at luxury lodges, new trucks, designer gear, zero marketing to working-class families. No affordable family fun messaging. They chose to make snowmobiling a rich person's activity, then wonder why youth participation collapsed. You can't build the next generation when you price out the middle class. Look, fixing this requires manufacturers to take a short-term revenue hit for long-term market health. They won't do it voluntarily. But here's what would work. Slash youth sled prices to under $3,000. Massive volume play. Get kids on sleds even if profit per unit tanks. Those kids become lifetime customers, more valuable than short-term margins. Create entry-level adult sleds under $8,000. Stripped down, basic, reliable. Working-class families can afford them. Gateway to the sport. Partner with schools for youth riding programs, like driver's ed, but for sleds. Build basic competency. Reduce injury rates. Change insurance actuarial tables. Lobby state governments for tax credits on youth snowmobile purchases, like electric vehicle credits. Make it economically attractive for families to start. None of this will happen. Manufacturers are controlled by private equity firms focused on quarterly earnings. They'll milk the existing aging customer base until it dies, then exit the market, already seeing consolidation. Arctic Cat got bought, Yamaha partnered with Arctic Cat. Market shrinking. In 20 years, maybe one manufacturer remains, servicing a tiny, ultra-wealthy niche. The mass market family activity we remember? Gone. Here's what individual families who care can do. Buy used sleds, refused to participate in the price spiral. 1998 to 2008 sleds work perfectly fine. Mechanically simple. Kids can learn on them. $2,000 gets you a solid used youth sled. Half that if you're patient. $4,000 gets a great used adult sled. Ride it 10 years. Second, mentor someone else's kid. Your neighbor's son shows interest? Take him riding? Teach him. His parents can't afford to buy him a sled? Let him ride yours. Pass the knowledge even if it's not your own kid. Third, join your local club and volunteer. Not for yourself, for the infrastructure. Because if trails close in your area, your grandkids will never have the option to ride even if they want to. Preserve the resource. Fourth, teach your kids mechanical skills through any means. If you can't afford snowmobiles, work on lawnmowers together. Old motorcycles, go-karts. The hands-on learning matters more than the specific machine. Build competency, problem solving, self-reliance. Those lessons transfer to everything in life. There are two paths forward. Path 1, we do nothing. Accept that family snowmobiling is dead except among the wealthy. 10 years from now, snowmobiling exists only as a luxury activity at destination resorts. Rich guys flying to Jackson Hole for long weekends, guided tours, $8,000 experiences, no local riding, no family tradition, no youth participation. The sport becomes what skiing became: elitist, expensive, disconnected from working class roots. Path 2, we reject the current trajectory. We buy used, we mentor others, we volunteer. We demand manufacturers serve working families again. We rebuild the tradition from the bottom up. Not easy, requires sacrifice, effort, going against market incentives, but it's the only way to preserve what we had. Your grandfather passed snowmobiling to your father. Your father passed it to you. Will you pass it to your kids? Or will you be the generation where the tradition dies? I want to hear from parents who stopped riding with their kids. Why did you stop? Economics? Safety? Time? Kids' lack of interest? Be honest. No judgment here. And if you're still trying to keep the tradition alive against all these forces, tell me your story. How are you making it work? What's working? What's not? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more honest breakdowns, hit that subscribe button and check out the next video here.